Good evening. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for those who have been supporting me by subscribing and by visiting, by supporting, by giving feedback. I'm back. Uh, been This channel has been established 10 years ago, but it has been active more than a week now, and so it is correct to say that we have been on a more than 1 week. So we're doing fine. I've got over 100 subscribers, and um, we are doing well for a new program and for a busy traffic, such as you can find in such as found in the social media, in on the YouTube channels. It's a great and exciting experience. My channel, like I said in the previous videos, my channel is to encourage free speech. We're here to allow people to speak, and my reasoning is that if we if we are alive, then we face challenges, many different challenges, and the first step actually is to speak. So we welcome to this channel to start speaking about everything, anything at all. Leave a comment below. Let me know what is in your head, what is in your life, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you think we should be doing, talking about. There is just a lot of things to talk about. And when it comes to talking, the sky is the limit. And why not? It's you're exercising your freedom. This is actually the basis of this channel, and I believe it is a very valuable basis. And I believe the more people joins us in this space, the better. And therefore, at the outset of our participating in this space, we have been talking about the cost of living. The cost of living at the moment is topical, and I intend to focus on it from different perspective, and I may be saying things people may not really connect to the cost of living very easily, but the burden will be on me to explain the connection. So the cost of living is very relevant. We talk about the cost of living as if it is an academic or research or policy or legal issue, but it is our life. But it's our life. It's affecting us. I've said it before, and I say it again that if we know why a problem is taking place, if we know the actual reason for why there is the cost of living, then we know how to solve it. We begin to think more effectively how to solve problem. I have to say to people who are viewing that you see, if you see a problem, if there's any problem, it has to be solved. You may not solve everything. You may not be solve any problem. I mean, you may not solve all the problems, but you see, people solve problem in every way, really, and you'll be surprised how many problems is solved, and you also be surprised how many problems exist in a human life. The reason we have problem because humans are not perfect. We are developing. We develop intellectually, but also emotionally, sometimes also spiritually. So whenever you see challenges, whenever you see problem of any sort, be happy, because that is proof that you are alive. One thing I say to anyone is that it doesn't matter how situation is hard. Never ever give up hope. And there is no reason why you should give up hope, because the primary aim is for people to be happy. It doesn't mean you're going to be happy all the times, but that is our aim. We're on a journey. So every single day, what I've been talking about again and again, every single day we have to really be happy. Even if we face hardship, the people we relate with, the friends. I mean, if you don't have friends, you're not going to be happy. You will be happy, but if you want to maximize your happiness, have good friends around. If you are to suffer, you suffer together. If you are rejoicing, you rejoice together. When I say suffering, in terms of the cost of living, I'm not really playing games, because I live in Britain, the 6th richest country in the world. In the UK, in terms of money and wealth, nobody should be poor. We shouldn't be talking about poverty in Britain at all. America, the USA is the richest country. I think, I don't know the list, the league table. I think I know China is the second biggest economy, but there's so much wealth in the developed countries generally, and wealth is also spreading up and down the globe. In Africa, people are becoming rich, so wealth shouldn't be much of a problem. The problem is that how we manage wealth. That is the main problem. See, our attitude to wealth, which is the main problem. In the UK, like I said before, because I live in the UK, I will be focusing on the UK. This is a new program. I'll be talking about certain specifics, but at this stage, I feel it is only appropriate to really talk broadly, because there are 8 billion people in the world. Potentially all of them, including children, might be watching this program. I expect adults mainly and young people to be watching it. So we're talking probably maybe 5 billion people. Imagine even 1 million people watching this channel. Let's say maybe 1 billion from around the world. The cost of living is everywhere. So even if I'm actually talking about something in the UK, you rest assured that it is the same or very similar with things happening in your country, in the developing world, in the developed world. Quite similar, because we are humans. Our state systems are quite similar. The law, policy, and other projects are being undertaken. And in the coming weeks, I will be trying to actually give a perspective of the kind of policy programs, in the UK, which also quite similar to Europe and the West, developed world, and in Africa, quite similar. And please leave a comment below what your government is doing for you in terms of the cost of living. Cost of living is connected to is it the problem to look at it really effectively? We need to look at what the government is doing. But the way I'm trying to approach it is to really look at it as broadly as possible. First of all, once we are familiar with the nature of the problem of the cost of living, and the problem of cost of living is quite similar to other problems. because they are human problems. Every problem in the world is human problem because it affects humans by way of priority. Even, we talk about nature, trees, animals. These are relevant. Anything existing in the world, in the universe, actually, its relevant is to us as a species, humans. So, that is what I'm trying to do. Engage them. People. The more people think, more accurately, and the more they understand their life. Because I see it, knowing that a channel like this should be there to help emotionally, also to bring people together. Really, people. I mean, this is a social media. It's like you come to socialize as well as work, play, and do whatever you want to do, and that's what this channel is about. Engaging with people, and actually getting people to be involved. And then we talk about cost of living as we are doing, and I in my last video I haven't really, it's still uploading at the moment. I talked a bit about the welfare state in Britain. The welfare state was created after the Second World War. The welfare state, actually, I'm looking at a material. I like to look at this material, but we are very familiar in the UK. We are familiar with the welfare state. Now, let me put a bit of logic, if I can, about the way the state behave in modern state. The way the state behave. What the state does, the state sets up government. There are political parties. These political parties set up governments, and the government then with parliament work together to develop laws. Every policy is based on the law. So they set laws. It's called legislation. They are primary legal source of the law. And then you have the court. Although these are independent institutions, the government, parliament, and then the legal institutions are being independent. But they work quite intricately. They work collectively. And it's a very complex system. And what they do, you see, there are a group of people called think tank. I don't know. Let me know if you know what a think tank is. Leave a comment below and tell me if you know what a think tank is. Let me know. But there are people who think for the government. They think for everyone. This is a modern system of government. There are people who actually think. There are people like professors, researchers, lecturers. They are quite academic. They are philosophers. They think. The welfare state is based on sociological thought, theoretical thinking. It's sociological because you see, with social welfare, social, it means like social media, in something involving people. People who are actually together. Some people talk of individualism. Others talk of collectivism. Individualism means one person. So when you talk about one person, I mean, what about one person? But what about if they're together? That they are collected. They're together. They're a group. They form society. And there are people who think in certain ways, and government then adopt this thought. There are two types of thinking in politics. in the UK and in the West, and now in the globe. There are a group of people who believe the government should support individuals to excel. That is right. They're doing the right thing. But there are also a different school of thinking which says the state should look after society. I mean, people who are struggling, people who are in problem, should be looked after by the government, by the state. They're also right. The difficulty is that when you put politics into policy, into beliefs, into principles, then it becomes a different thing, because now politics. Now, when you hear the Conservative Party in the UK speaking, you think they're different from the Labour Party or the Liberal Democrats, or the Scottish National Party in Scotland. But why, you ask yourself that, if we are the same society, why are they so different? And that's, to me, that is the major problem. Why are people divided in the way they think? To me, I think this is really ridiculous. And you may not believe what I'm saying, but this is across the globe. Especially in the developed world, where there is a lot of civil and political infrastructure. We have some of the most robust social infrastructure in the world wide world, in the West, especially, but also in the developed world. The civil systems of government, or policy, and of the law, and among other things. Everything else comes from there. So, if you see, this dictates what policy, which political party actually implements. So, in Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Northern Ireland and Wales, the UK is the biggest. I mean, the England is the biggest. Now, you see, if you talk of the UK, the UK is a country, it's a full country. But also, Scotland is now a very strong equivalent as a country in terms of devolved powers. Because if you compare Wales with Northern Ireland, these are actually very, very small in compared with Scotland. And they set policies slightly differently, but if you look into it in detail, it's quite the same. And you find people saying, there are people who actually believe that inequalities in the UK is actually natural. Inequality is something which just occurs. It shouldn't be interfered. It should be allowed. These are people who are actually, sometimes they call themselves functionalists. See, they say you look at the individual, you train individuals, you develop talents, you allow nature to take its course. If you put it another way, this group of people who think individuals should be focused on to solve their own problem, this is the one who say the state should not intervene. If people are in trouble, the state should support a certain mechanism to strengthen this individual to solve their own problem, which I think is a good thing, because I talk a lot about empowerment. People should be empowered to be independent. People should be empowered to do their own things independent of the government. That is okay. Except that in practice, sometimes it doesn't work. And then you find a group of people who are, theoretical thinkers. They're called the conflict theorists. These are people who say, Inequality is caused uh, because those at the top of society are dictating the economic and social system to maintain their privileged position. That what they are saying is that those who are in power are deliberately keeping people who are not in power down. These are actually the kind of thinking associated with the Labour Party. The people who are actually thinking that individuals should be responsible for their life, people should not depend on the state, these are actually associated with the Conservative Party. And you may think, okay, these are really minor issues. But you see, we are talking about political power and national power. See, so it's a very complex system, and it has a lot of resources, it has a lot of power. It's a very complex political and social systems. These are actually the background giving rise to problems such as the cost of living. And that is it really. And I'm just looking at this material, and it's fascinating. I'm just looking through it, and actually to summarize it so far, and I'm going to talk just to tie it in. When you talk about individualism or collectivism, now collectivism is the opposite of individualism. Individualism means you're looking at individuals as the source of problem and the source of solution. If the government design policy, they should focus on the individual to identify the problem, to solve the problem. For example, if a conservative prime minister or political conservative party is saying, okay, there is poverty in the UK, there is wealth inequality, there is health inequality, there are all sorts of inequalities. This is because people who are poor because they are less educated, they are less trained, they are less professional, they haven't developed their talents effectively. Or if you find sometimes people who are really nasty, they will actually also say people who are poor because they're lazy, because maybe they are stupid as well. Then these are things that are being said by politicians, some politicians, and some commentators as well. And you begin to see that there is a problem there. Attitude, political attitude, policy behavior. And the problem remains that there are poor people to the tune of maybe 80% or more in this country, compared to only rich people, about 10 or 15% in this country. And you find that those who are poor will struggle with poverty. You see, they will struggle, and the government has been trying to help by creating something called the welfare state. The welfare state, concerned. This was created after the Second World War in the UK. It was created in the UK to actually help people who are actually disadvantaged socially and economically. It works. The welfare state works. It worked very well. It created, within the welfare state, it created the social security system. Social security system is actually about mainly what you now call benefit, which is money, financial help for people who cannot help themselves. And they may include also pension and things like tax credit. Tax credit if you work, and things like childcare cost. These are actually the kind of benefit given to parents within the maternity policy, maternity support. policy. So these are there, and it helps people who work and people who do not work. Now, the other aspect of the welfare state is actually, and within the welfare benefit or social security, is actually the level of pay. The government sets policy, I think something called living wage or minimum wage. Now, the problem with living wage and minimum wage in the UK, Scotland, and the regions is that it's low. The level is low. It is always, it tends to be above the rate of inflation. Like right now, it is way, way, way behind the rate of inflation. That's why people are striking. We can talk about strike. Let me know your views about strikes. But when we begin to look at the causes of this problem in my channel, then we begin to really make sense, because there is no point being surprised, being shocked why things are not working, because we believe what the government tells us, and they tell us the truth. They don't lie. Except that they're dealing with a very complex issue. And we have the opportunity to take back our lives using the social media, using YouTube channels, and to be speaking for ourselves and to do research, because with the digital age, you go in the internet, there's so much information. You can get a lot of information. You see, people should change the way they live. Go and have a party, watch television, go for dinner, but take time also to learn how the government operates. Because the government is running this country. If there is a cost of living, the first question the people ask, what we elected you, our MPs, we elected you as our MPs. What is happening? Why are we in poverty? Why are we in a crisis? And you are out there, you know how hard this thing, and I'm now up to tell you this. Every time there's a crisis, it's going to take long. And the government has to really help. And we need to use information, knowledge. If we have the right kind of information, we begin to understand the way the government operates. We can talk to them through our MPs. Say, for example, if you go to lobby your MP, you don't know what to talk about. You don't know anything about government policy, and you're a single mother with 2 children on benefit. And the problem with benefit is that the rate is extremely low. I mean, if you're on benefit, the benefit, if you're on benefit, is actually, you are assigning yourself to permanent poverty. But also if you're working these days, because of, low pay, and also because of worsening condition of work, these actually are policies which should be consistent with the welfare economy, welfare state. Because welfare state is supposed to deal with inequalities, economic and financial and wealth inequalities in this country. Wealth affects health. If there is a wealth inequality, there is going to be health inequality. People die. I mean, poverty can kill people. People, in terms of mental illness, physical illness, emotional stress, depression and anxiety is a very, very, very common mental health situation. Some people actually are threatening even to commit suicide if you speak to them. They are saying we're going to commit suicide because we cannot cope anymore. You go to the government has made getting benefit very, very difficult. And you need to understand this as a fact. So that when you go to your local MP, you're going to talk to your MP, you say, why is it so difficult to get benefit, even if you're sick? There is a benefit called personal independence payment for sick people. He has replaced most of the sickness benefit. Disability living allowance or whatever. Disability living allowance now is left with children, mainly children now. You can claim, if you have a child who is sick, you can claim disability living allowance. But if you are given a form, to fill that form, it's so complex that you have to go to professionals to help at the DWP, Department for Health and Work, the Department for Works and Pension, or to an organization, a charity like Citizen Advice. Citizen Advice, I've said it before, is the biggest advice service in this country, but it's a charity. Charities are actually funded by the government, and so they complement statutory institutions and services like local authorities, like the civil service, nationally and locally. And if you go to your job center where you get your benefit, that is actually a civil service department operated locally. These are statutory government responsible for the public sector. In this case, the social sector are responsible particularly for the welfare state and social security, as well as other aspects of welfare. Other aspect of welfare part of benefit is actually the National Health Service. But as I said, there are actually nearly there's nearly 300 billion pounds is spent in a year to finance the welfare state. That is huge. That is really big. And this is just only welfare benefit. Sorry, but you see, let me just check quickly. If you bear with me there, let me just check the information so that I don't mislead. Because I've already mentioned it. Let me just check quickly. Information on the welfare state. I'm looking at my laptop now. Let's say the welfare state. The welfare state, just bear with me. Yeah, the welfare state. There's somebody called Lord Beveridge. Lord Beveridge in after the Second World War. Second World War was in 1945. So maybe between 1945 and 50, the welfare state was actually set up in the UK to provide a comprehensive system of social insurance from cradle to grave. So if you are born, you get child benefit as a child. As a mother, you get all sorts of benefit to support you with childcare and things like that. You get universal credit now. Universal credit is actually the main benefit. But what I'm trying to look at here is Social Security. We're looking at Social Security. Actually, it's between 200 and maybe 300 billion in a year. That is a lot of money. I don't know. This figure was in 2015, the financial year 2014-2015. I still have to find. You can actually look how much it costs currently, but you can 2015 is just 5 years ago, so it's about probably the same. If this variation maybe about 300 billion. 300 billion is a lot of money on Social Security alone, which is actually one element of the welfare state. And the second element of the welfare state here, let me just go through it. Something called the National Health Service, NHS. And everybody who lives in the UK knows what the NHS is, National Health Service. So this actually, the government spends about 140, maybe 200 billion dollars. That is a lot of money. And they spend it to do that, to provide healthcare in the UK, and it actually has a good reputation. It performs very well. There are problems currently within the health sector, within the NHS, to do with waiting time, to do with prescription charges in the UK generally, but not in Scotland. Scotland's policy they don't charge the prescription. But UK generally, the prescription charges for when is like when you are, if you work, if you're not on benefit, but if you're on benefit, which is actually social security. Okay, if somebody says to you, you're on benefit, it means you're on social security, the same. It means the same. The other part of welfare state is actually comprehensive education. What that means, these are state run. The state actually pay for it pay fundings for the educational requirement for the majority of the people who cannot afford private education. So this is a really big institution. This is a very big industry within the social sector, within the welfare state. So so that it could help people who cannot help themselves. So you see, the cost of living didn't start today. It's a policy issue, and also perhaps also as a political and legal issue. It has always been there, and now it has become what was, and we call it a crisis. And the other one is called, you call it education, personal social services and services for children. These are actually, if you heard about social workers, people who provide social care, these spends about 30 billion. These are 2024, 2025 figures. About 31 billion in a year. This is actually huge spending. This is the outlook. This is just the overview of the welfare state in terms of facts and figures. And I'm actually mentioning this so that you get an idea what the government has been doing to address the problem of inequalities. Because when people talk of inequality, sometimes some people don't really believe that there is an inequality in this country. But the government has been helping since the Second World War. So many years, and the problem now is that because of political thinking, because of political economic approaches, public sector is reducing. The government is making cuts on the public sector. Welfare state is part of the public sector. It's actually the biggest element, apart of defense and other things, and transport and all those infrastructures. The public sector is so huge, but the welfare state is just the biggest element of the public sector. Now, this is changing. This is what I wanted to talk about. It's changing. It's a political discussion. Because, in my opinion now, there is no reason why it should change. As long as there are poor people in Britain, public sector should carry on, especially the welfare state, which we know now, it is social security, it is the NHS, the hospital, funded by the government, and schools, and all the other things. Schools, supposed to be 5. School, health, social security. Yeah, about, let's say, 1, 2, 3, about 4 and 5. Because social services actually, there's an element for adults and for children. I'm giving you this overview so that as we go along to develop this channel, we're going to talk mainly about these issues. This is what this channel is about. It's about our life as ordinary citizens of the UK and also as ordinary citizens of the world. We are many. We are about 80% of the population worldwide. And this channel is intending for us to start speaking for ourselves and develop a relationship with our MPs, with our leaders, with our governments, with whoever leader runs our country. If we have information, we know what to talk about. We build that confidence. Watching this video, in my opinion, is going to facilitate that. If you think what we are doing is important, or if you think it might not be important, leave a comment for me so that I know what you're thinking. Subscribe to this channel, share with family and friends. If you want to share with strangers, no problem. You keep the campaign going. I want this channel to carry on. And I will do my best on a daily basis to post at least something. It doesn't matter how little it is. It is new, so I need all the support. Thank you and God bless you. Good night. Bye.